The Frame. Now I'm going to tell you a mystery story. A real-life mystery story. But I'm going to tell you first how it ends. It's important that you know, so you can keep the facts straight. The Colonel was married, and he also had a mistress. Indeed, the Colonel was just about to leave his wife for the other woman when his wife decided to kill him. All right, do you have this? It's important. The Colonel's wife wants to do away with her husband, so she conceives the perfect crime. The wife will make it appear as though her husband, the Colonel, has murdered her. The authorities would do the rest. The Colonel would be tried, convicted, executed. His wife would turn up later with feigned amnesia. The perfect crime, right? And mystery buffs, please don't feel cheated because you know more than you should. Despite all that you've heard, you'd never guess the rest of the story. One frosty night in December of 1926, a car was found at the bottom of a chalk pit in Newlands Corner, England. Inside the car was a fur coat belonging to the Colonel's wife. The woman had disappeared, and the police suspected murder. The Colonel himself was interrogated first. Where had he been on the night in question? Well, the Colonel explained he'd been at a dinner party. What was the occasion? The Colonel appeared embarrassed. The dinner party was for himself and his lady. They were going to announce their engagement. The detectives looked at each other. Was the Colonel at the party all evening? No. He'd received a telephone call from his wife. She had heard what was going on and was about to come to the party to make a scene. Naturally, the Colonel had to go home for a while to calm his wife. Did he? Yes. The Colonel had gone home. No one was there, and he'd returned to the party. Had the Colonel and his wife been on good terms prior to her disappearance? Yes, but, well, no, not exactly. They'd had their disagreements. In fact, they'd had quite a row the morning before the dinner party about the Colonel's lady. If the detectives prejudged the Colonel guilty, you can imagine why. His testimony was quite incriminating. Meanwhile, a force of 2,000 was organized to search a 40-square-mile area for the missing body. The authorities dragged a deep-water hole near the chalk pit where her car was found. Tracking dogs and light planes scoured the area. Publicity mounted steadily. The London newspapers were calling the incident the crime of the century. The Daily News offered £100 for any information leading to the solution of the mystery. And who is being asked not to leave town? Well, the Colonel, of course. Obvious motive, the mistress' involvement, and no alibi. Of course, you know he didn't do it. You know his wife was hiding out, waiting for her husband to be convicted of murder and sent to the gallows. You know because I told you. There's something you didn't know. The Colonel's wife had planned everything. She'd left the ignition key off when she pushed her car into the pit so the police would know that it was pushed and not driven. She had even left a fur coat in the car. It was very cold that night, remember? When investigators would find the coat, they would not suspect that she had left the scene herself. Yes, the Colonel's wife had figured it all out. Except for one thing. There was no place for her to hide. 12 days after her disappearance, her famous face was recognized on the other side of England. Not only was the Colonel's wife well known, but she, of all people, should have been able to get away with murder. For the Colonel's wife, the real-life, almost murderess, was the author of fiction's most successful whodunits. She was the mistress of mystery, Agatha Christie. And now you know the rest of the story. Good day.